All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this special meeting of the Glendale City Council for May 21, 2026, being called to order at 2:02 p.m. May we have roll call, please?
Yes, council members Asadrian, Brotman,
Here.
Garpetian,
Here.
Najarian,
Here.
Mayor Kasakian.
Here, and may we have the report?
Yes, the agenda for the Thursday, May 21st, 2026 special public meeting of the City Council was posted on May 19th, 2026 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
All right, thank you. Well, Councilmember Asatrian has informed me that she is en route, so she will be joining us for this study session. I want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Garpetian for holding down the fort, as well as my colleagues while we were away at a conference about artificial intelligence, AI, Google, and local governance. Well,
He did a hell of a job, I want you to know, Mr. Mayor.
I followed.
A hell
I
of a
watched.
job.
Thank you. That's why I said thank you. I appreciate it. And I saw that the Erewhon ribbon cutting went well as well. So there are a number of public comment cards. We do have our budget study session number 2 here. It's the proposed fiscal year 2026-27 citywide budget and departmental presentations. And then there's a closed session item that I'll ask the clerk to read into the record afterwards. But I have 4 cards, and I know that some residents want to join us, and you may not have the flexibility that we do. We have to be here. You may not have to be here. So I'd like to ask, is it the consensus of the public to wish to speak at the beginning of the meeting to get it out of the way? Okay. All right. In that case, let's hear from the public. And then, yes.
How many minutes would you like to give?
One individual asked for 5. So here's what we'll do. We'll start off with 3, and then if someone needs more time, I will grant them the time, but no more than 5. So let's start with 3 and see if we can keep it to that. Mr. Milano, let's start with you. And then following Mr. Milano, it's Christine Alexanian, followed by Denise Meyer, and then Joanne Zierhout.
Mayor Kasakian, members of the City Council, and city staff. For the past 8 months to 12 months, I have been studying in more depth the city's finances for the past 25 years. I have submitted to you my analysis of those 25 years and what has transpired. And what I want to encourage the City Council to recognize, if we were to look at just the last 10 years, are a significant problem with the city's finances. And that is the following: that the finances of the city of Glendale tell us that we can no longer sustain the exponential growth in the cost of the Glendale Police Department and the Glendale Fire Department. If you were to take the 2 main sources of revenue for the city of Glendale, which is property tax and sales tax, and look at the increases in both year to year, you're going to find out that these 2 departments consume nearly 100% of that increase. So no matter what you build, what office building goes up, what commercial buildings go up, what housing you provide, all of that property tax revenue is being consumed by these 2 departments every year. In other words, there is no room for any of that to actually be transferred over for the general fund for other purposes. You need to take a look at those last 10 years. No system can be sustainable economically when you have an exponential increase, and it needs to be controlled. The other thing that is very relevant with regard to the data that I collected is the significant amount of overtime in the millions of dollars and uncoded overtime in the thousands of hours, meaning overtime authorized without a code being assigned or a job being assigned to it. And there's a problem there because it's related to something else that I think you need to do where you need to spend money, and that is in the audit department. As of today, with a city of $1.2 billion in appropriations, you have only 1 auditor. If you were to have 1 auditor for every $200 million in appropriations, you would need 6. And that's what you need to fund. And the advantage for the budget is that for every dollar in auditing, at the very minimum, you'll save another dollar, in city expenditures. And more than likely, if you research it out, it's more like 5 times that amount. So that is a significant way of ensuring that you are able to really extract the maximum benefit from this. And I think that one of those tasks has to do a deep and careful overview of what is happening with overtime, because that means millions of dollars that would go to the positive side. It needs to be
I just want to
reviewed.
indicate your time will expire, but you may continue for the time that you had asked for.
Thank you very much. I'm also suggesting that whenever you get these reports giving you the proposed expenditures, that you look at the CAFR and look at what has transpired in the past. And there are several deficiencies in the CAFR. The first one is that the liability side of the CAFR is being underreported legally and properly according to GASB. But GASB allows you not to report the accumulated interest on the bonds, for example, or the accumulated interest that has to be paid on the unfunded pension liability. So that means that your liabilities are underreported legally and officially by hundreds of millions of dollars, and GASB should be addressing this, because it took until 2016 for GASB to even recognize the unfunded liabilities. Not that GASB is doing the perfect thing, it's that they're really delaying some things, and my guess is that of pressure from other entities. A proper financial statement should recognize that. And here's the other really difficult part to accept, is that public works and capital improvement have been delayed and postponed significantly to the tunes of tens of millions of dollars a year. So basically what has transpired is that tens of millions of dollars annually have been, it's called capital capture ratio, which tells you that you are consuming your assets by not putting enough money to recover those assets and maintain them. And we're doing it out of the two primary drivers of expense, which is the pension obligation, overtime, and increases in pay and benefits. That is driving the city to bankruptcy. You need to get control of that. And that is the message, and I can substantiate this with all of the records from the city's own website. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Malone. And before, I appreciate your comments, and I know that you have pointed out some realities that we are all challenged with having to face. As someone who worked for, and I forget the acronym of the apartment association, do you?
AGLA, yes.
AGLA. So as someone who has worked for them, as someone who has been a property owner, could you, and if you don't want to tell me, feel free to share it with me offline. Between 2000 and let's say 5 and to today, what do you recall what rents you were charging, or the average rents were for, let's say, a 1-bedroom unit in Glendale versus today?
No, I cannot tell you. Right off the bat, no. To give you an accurate number, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you recall what you were charging for some of your units?
I can tell you what I was charging 40 years ago. My building, I bought new almost 40 years ago. It was $750 a month, the rent, back in 1986. So I've been invested in Glendale for a very long time, and I have had hundreds of tenants. Yes, and by the way, inflation has gone up, I understand, but these rates, Mr. Mayor, are at least double the increase of inflation. So it's a great question. How much has inflation increased during all these years, and what comparative costs have been? And you will see that this costs for the fire department and the police department have increased at least double the rate of inflation. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let the record also show that Councilmember Asatrian has joined us in chambers. Next speaker is Christine Alexanians, followed by Denise Meyer, followed by Joanne Zierhut, followed by Beth Brooks. 3 minutes.
Hello. Mayor, if you'd please allow Ms. Alexanians wishes to follow me. We're kind of speaking similar, but not the same topic. I'm Denise Meyer. I've lived in Chevy Chase Canyon for 20 years, and in those 20 years, I've been part of a community group to try to fight back budget cuts. Twice before, they were trying to close the library. We've sent you an email with a number of petitions and letters. We're still collecting. We have at least 75 to 80 supporting keeping the library staffed at the current staffing levels. Chevy Chase Library is a very special place. It's a remote place, and the council had the good foresight years ago, mid-century, to build a fire station there. And thank goodness, we were all evacuated in the Eaton fire. And as they did many times, they put a library right next to that fire station. And which has given the community the glue and a place to get together. The cuts are justified, I guess, by the library staff to saying visitation and library use are low. Well, yes, they are. We're not open very many hours a week now, at 11 hours per week on 2 different days. When I moved into the Canyon, we were open 3 days. Once those hours get taken away of staffed hours, they do not tend to return. At our urging, the city has put up some signage on both ends of the Canyon to tell residents that it's even there. The choice hours are great. When I go and use those choice hours, I'm virtually never alone. There's other patrons there too. But cutting staff hours on Wednesdays, those 6 staff hours, would shut down the weekly writing club of 13 years, which Ms. Alexani is going to address, the book club of 9.5 years that I belong to, parents and kids coming by after school or work. Why not switch to choice hours on Wednesdays, you might be asking. Well, these clubs, most of them are with women. Some prefer not to come to the library when it's unstaffed. Book club meets after work, so people like me who work can come. We start our meetings at either 5:30 or 6:30. If we use only choice hours that are now proposed to end at 6, a half-hour book club meeting is kind of meaningless. So of the two evils, if something has to get cut, choice hours cut at 6, okay, but if you definitely take the staffed hours away on Wednesdays, it would really cripple the book club. We wouldn't be able to meet in a half hour. In your last meeting, several of you commented on what a special place Glendale is, that this city has, it's not a city of casinos and amusement parks and heavy industry. It's a community of residential services and parks and libraries to keep the culture going. I think, Mayor Kasakian, you mentioned last time it used to be bowling teams. Well, now it's writing clubs and book clubs and knitting clubs that meet there. And it gives the sense of community, culture, and people that makes that library so special. So I urge you to keep the staffing at the current level. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Christine Alexanians, followed by Joanne Zierhout.
Good afternoon. I'm Christine Alexanians, 45 years resident of Glendale. When I joined the Writers Club of the Chevy Chase Library 13 years ago, it was already an entity. So it's been going there forever. And all the writers that have gone through that entity and the group, we have made Glendale proud. We had published writers with coffee table books, recipe books, TV scripts, memoirs, biographies, collections of poetry. I have a whole tote bag here filled with published books. I myself published 3 books while I was in that group, and I'm still in that group. And 2 of them were launched, and I had signing sessions in that library, so it's very dear to me. And we are getting weekly meetings every Wednesday with the staffed hours. And because most of our members are working, it would be really hard for us to go on with the 6 p.m. limit. We are a very diverse group of people, different ages. We have 30-year-old Nigerian man, and we have 85-year-old lady, and we're writing scripts, poetry, a children's book, memoirs, biography, historical novels. So it is really, really a great dynamic group. And if the choice hours are gone, we will be gone too. We have to disband. And I really would like you to open your hearts, look hard, and see maybe you can switch that cut with something else so we can keep our hours. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Next is Joanne, followed by Beth Brooks.
Good afternoon, City Council members. My name is Joan Zierhut, and I am a board member for the Glendale Library Arts and Culture Trust. First, I would like to thank you all for the work that you do to serve our community. I know it can be a tough job, and I appreciate you all doing your best for Glendale. I would like to speak regarding the proposed budget cuts to Glendale libraries, especially the possible shutdown of the library connection at Adams Square. Our libraries are already seriously underfunded, and proposing further cuts feels like the wrong direction for our city. At a time when the cost of living has risen significantly and many people are struggling financially, libraries are needed more now than ever. They provide access for technology, educational resources, job support, safe community spaces, and programs that serve every age group. The thought of indefinitely closing Library Connection at Adams Square feels especially wrong to me. This branch serves South Glendale, one of the most densely populated areas of our city, and it receives 20,614 annual visitors compared to only 8,495 at the Chevy Chase Library, less than half as many visitors. Closing a library that is used more often in a neighborhood that deeply needs the services libraries provide seems simply to make no sense to me. As a board member of the Glendale Library Arts and Culture Trust, I also want to emphasize that our nonprofit funds much of the programming across the Glendale libraries. Together with Brand Associates and the Urban Art Funds, we fund books and programming for the bookmobile, leaving staffing as the primary expense to the city. Given that level of community partnership and support, the proposal to further cut staffing and reduce library hours by 19% and eventually by 29% feels particularly unfair and short-sighted. Our libraries are a safe place for the Glendale community. They serve students, children, seniors, professionals, artists, teachers, literally everyone in this community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, you are, Ms. Brooks. Please. And that is the last card here, and then we have one person on phone.
Okay, thank
Ms.
you.
Brooks, go ahead.
When I first heard that you were cutting every department by 5%, or you were asking for cuts of 5%, I thought to myself, would I look at my own personal budget and cut 5% from my food budget as well as my entertainment budget? It just seemed to make no sense. You don't make cuts based upon equity, that you ask everybody to make the same amount. Would you do that with your personal budget? Or would you say, let's investigate how I spend my money and where potentially am I wasting my money? And I don't understand that, and I think you should revisit that. I think that is a decision made to be expedient, or maybe there's not enough time, or that you have to take care of things right now. I think that was a very bad decision. I think you should revisit that decision and get a professional to actually forensically take a look at your budget to decide this department should perhaps cut 10%. This department maybe even needs more from that 10%. And I would have to agree with for seniors and children, libraries are so important in the same way that people need green spaces. This is where you gather. This is where your community meets. This is where children go to read books because books are so expensive now, especially if you want to get children off of reading on iPads. This is absolutely critical. I cannot imagine that you would ask every department to do this. This doesn't even make sense to me. I think you absolutely have to listen to what people are saying. And if the libraries are underused or underutilized, you have to creatively problem solve how to use those spaces. There are a lot of people who would like meeting spaces who could rent out those spaces in the libraries. There are film showings. There are so many things. You have to be more creative to utilize the resources that you have instead of taking away a valuable resource that really is at the heart of this community for children and seniors, for everybody. I would also appreciate if you could tell the public early on, if you intend to ask the taxpayers for a bond for capital improvements, and if you're intending to put data centers in Glendale. Thank you.
Okay. And then we have one person on the phones.
Yes.
That is Edmund Hagopian.
Yes, Edmund Hagopian, you're on air. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Good evening. So, for the opportunity to speak on this budget session, I'm increasingly noticing only questions and proposals by special interest groups such as Glendale Environmental Coalition or Glendale HIMBY or groups such as these are being taken seriously. And most of the questions put to the council or to the staff by the public are simply ignored. I would really appreciate it if you can answer my questions today. I will be speaking slowly and repeating my questions so both Mr. Golanian and the city attorney can provide answers to my question. If you want more community outreach, this is the best way to show that you care about what people have to say. We're taking time out of our life to participate in these meetings, and I demanding a response to my question. So my first question is to our city attorney. I wanted to know what happens if our council members decide not to move forward with this budget and ask the city manager's office to redo the budget. Would there be any charter violations or any other avenues that the council members can explore to ask the city manager's office to redo the budget? My next question is to Mr. Golanian. Why are you not starting this budget process earlier so council members and the community members can propose major changes to our budget? It seems to me it's always done in May, and then they are forced to approve it by the end of June or July. My next question is, my next request is we should be holding these budget meetings in the afternoon where our residents can participate. How can you claim that this is people's budget if it's held during business hours when most residents cannot attend these meetings? I'm asking the council members to give the city managers a clear directive so next year we can have these budget sessions earlier during the fiscal year, and for them to be scheduled in the afternoon so people can actually participate. My last request is this is a comment about this budget. I've criticized Mr. Golanian, and I'm going to do it again today. The budget proposal that you see in front of you, it's simply proposing fake. It's proposing fake budget cuts and savings, and it's falsely giving you assurance that we are in a good financial position. And also, his claims that we have a healthy financial reserves is wrong. What he's doing is basically putting more deferred maintenance on the books and not telling you exactly how much it's going to cost the future council members to fix these problems. And based on all of our different maintenance schedules that I've seen so far, everything is going to cost us at least 2 to 3x more to fix in the future. That's not how you do budget. He's withholding information and not telling you exactly how much it's going to cost in the future. So I urge you to ask him to go and redo the budget again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, that is all the comments from the public, and then now we may commence with the budget study session, unless staff or anyone else would like to respond. But again, I want to remind everyone, the purpose of this portion is not for us to engage in back and forth or debates, simply to hear the residents. If there's specific questions, we can answer them. I know there were 2 questions that were asked by the last caller, so perhaps maybe the city attorney and the city manager want to respond as to what would happen if this budget is not approved.
Okay, so Mr. Mayor, if the charter requires that the budget be adopted by June 30th, so if the budget was not adopted by June 31, obviously we'd be out of compliance with the charter. In addition, the city would be without appropriation to fund its operations after July 1st. So the council would be required to adopt some sort of continuing resolution to fund its operations for a certain period of time until it does adopt a budget. Don't have to say that to my knowledge, the city council has never not adopted a budget by July 1st, and so certainly be an uncharted territory for the city if we were not to do so.
How about our credit rating?
Yes.
Yeah,
Would that not have an adverse effect on?
Turn to
our-
Mr. Lang for that, but I imagine it would not be a good look.
I mean, in general, it's not good.
Yeah, as Mr. Garcia mentioned, that for a city municipality not adopt a budget before the fiscal year starts is extremely rare. In fact, I have never heard of such a case in my short career. From a quality of the credit rating perspective, it will definitely raise eyebrows with the creditors as well as investors, in addition to the community members. So it is something to be considered seriously. At the same time, I wanted to provide that as much as the budget adoption is a formal process that actually starts the next fiscal year, our budget continue to evolve and be revised. In fact, that we revise the budget multiple times in the middle of the year. So it's not something that's carved in stone that cannot be changed later. If there are things that the council believes that it warrants more time to deliberate and then potentially make decisions in particular areas later in the fiscal year, that can still be held and that can still happen. So if there is any pressure that feels like, oh wow, this is our only chance to adopt a budget to get it right, I want to say that the pressure is not as some public member may perceive. It's an ever-evolving process that we go through our budget planning process.
Mr. Mayor, I thank you. I will not respond to the comment about this, I presenting a fake budget. I don't think that deserves a response. But as far as scheduling concerned, as Mr. Liang mentioned, this is an ongoing process that we go through. The budget team actually starts in December of every year. As soon as we wrap up one budget, they start working on next year's budget. As you know, you all know, we have 14 departments with a budget of over $1.2 billion. It's a painstakingly long, iterative process that we go through. It doesn't start in March, April, or May, but as I said, in December, they go through thousands of charts and tables and entries to be able to present a draft to you in a meaningful manner so that you can have some feedback and input into it. It can't be at a stage that it's going to require additional changes. So we bring it to you in a draft format, but it's been worked on for a number of months. Actually, we started on April 30th with our first budget study session. Scheduling these meetings are extremely challenging. We have 5 council members who are extremely busy. Our staff tries their best to schedule something, the 4 sessions, so that everyone's available, and that takes effort. We don't do this in vacuum. It's a collective effort, and it takes a lot of work. It's a very large organization, as I mentioned, with a lot of data that needs to be processed.
Right, thank you. And again, as has been mentioned, we, by charter, are required to adopt a budget by a specific period of time, within a specific period. That's not to say that the budget cannot be changed or revised. We hear oftentimes in the news about the mid-year revisions that, the state of California and other budgets and government entities have. So this just becomes our guiding, principles or a guide for the budget moving forward. There's elections, you'll have new council members, and potentially, there could be a council that completely decides to throw out the previous council's budget and take the city in a completely different direction, conceivably. So that's not to say that anything is necessarily set in stone, but we want to at least have certain, have staff as well as the community understand what is coming, situation we're in, how to prepare for what we anticipate will happen. And again, it's a living budget, I would say, as circumstances change and things change. In fact, just today I was speaking to a media outlet about rising fuel costs and what the impacts are on our public safety personnel and the fuel that they purchase. No one anticipated that there would be a war in the Middle East that would be causing gas prices to surge. So again, we try to prepare for things as best we can. So with that, Mr. Galani.
If I may, Mayor, one additional thing that I need to emphasize is any member of the public who is interested on learning how our budget works, the City of Glendale's budget works, they're welcome to contact me. They're welcome to contact Mr. Liang. Actually, Mr. Liang has offered it up. So the member of the public don't have to wait for these budget study sessions. they can contact us. We'll be more than happy to walk them through the process.
And also there's the Glendale Civic Institute, which
Absolutely.
hopefully will be having a new cohort.
Yes.
For anyone watching, you can sign up. You'll be part of a cohort of anywhere between 8 to 12 or maybe 12 or 15 members of the public who will sit and hear from every single department what their budgets are, what their scope of work is, et cetera. And it's something that I've found, many people have found it useful, and if anyone's watching and is interested, please contact the city manager's office, find out when the next cohort is for that program. All right, with that, Mr. Galanian.
Good afternoon again, Mayor, members of City Council. In the interest of time, I'm not going to make my opening remarks. We already talked about the challenging process, and just wanted to thank every department who's participated. It's been a tough budget year. But collectively, we have been able to bring it to you for your input. As you can see, I'm just going to turn it over to Jack Liang, our finance director, and his team to make the presentation. Obviously, every department is presented here. If you have any questions, that will go to them directly.
Thank you, Mr. Galanian. Good afternoon, Mayor Kasakian and members of the City Council. I am excited to facilitate today's discussion at our study session number 2. As you may recall that during our budget study session number 1 on April 30th, we focused heavily on the general fund portion of our budget. At today's meeting, we are going to focus a little more on the, advance the slides over quick. We're going to focus a little more on the citywide budget. As you know that the city's operation goes beyond general fund, and we actually have a lot more funds in addition to general fund that support the city's ongoing operations. So for study session number 2, we'll focus on the citywide budget, as well as we have prepared some highlight videos for each department, each functional area for you, for your benefit, as well as for the public's benefit. On May 28th, we have our budget study session number 3. That's when we will focus on capital improvement programs. We'll touch on some of the capital improvement funds today, but the detailed capital improvement programs will be presented on May 28th. On May 28th, we'll also address the city's fee schedule update as well as vacancy reporting. And our last planned budget study session is on June 4th, and that is for any open follow-up items that warrants discussion for this year's budget. Last but not least, is June 23rd is the date that we have scheduled for the open budget hearing as well as council adoption. So that's our calendar. So with that, I want to launch into today's main presentation, which is the citywide proposed budget for fiscal year 26-27. And before I start, we have an overview video that we would like to show you as well as the public. Can we cue video number 1, please?
At its core, the city's budget is about people and the priorities that shape everyday life in our community. Each year, Glendale develops its budget by working with departments across the organization to make sure resources are directed toward the services residents rely on most. As economic conditions change, the budget is regularly reviewed and updated to reflect current needs and priorities. From early planning through adoption and implementation, the budget serves as a guide for how the city delivers services, invests in infrastructure, and prepares for what's ahead. To manage a wide range of services effectively, the city organizes its budget into separate funds, each with a specific purpose and set of rules. As a true full-service city, Glendale is responsible for everything from public safety and street maintenance to parks, libraries, and utilities. These services are supported through a mix of revenues, including taxes, service fees, and external funding. While property taxes play an important role, they represent only a portion of the funding needed to support essential services, making careful financial planning critical. The general fund serves as the foundation of the city's operations, supporting core services such as police, fire, parks, and libraries. The city's remaining operations rely on other funds designated for specific uses. These specific funds are comprised of special revenue funds, which support primarily grant-funded programs, enterprise funds, which operate on a cost recovery basis for services like water, electricity, and trash, capital project funds, which are primarily utilized for improvements to infrastructure and facilities, debt service funds, which manage long-term financial obligations, and internal service funds, which support services shared across city departments. This financial structure ensures transparency, accountability, and responsible stewardship of public resources.
Okay. So with that introduction, I want to talk about our citywide appropriations. On this slide is a detailed breakdown of the citywide appropriations for fiscal year 26-27, as well as comparing to fiscal year 25-26. And it is broken down into 4 functional areas and also broken down by departments as well. The 4 functional areas include public safety, infrastructure, quality of life, and central support. So at the bottom line, the city's total citywide budget, total appropriation for fiscal year 26-27 is $1.28 billion. And within that $1.28 billion, only about $378 million, or about 30%, is general fund. The remainder of $900 million, or 70% of the citywide budget, is one of the many non-general funds, as mentioned during the video. And they're all embedded within each one of the departments. So within the departments, you can see that there are some departments by percentage or by dollar amount has some increases. Some departments by percentage or by dollar amount has some decreases. And we're going to walk through each one of this departmental budget today with a little more detail to explain why are some of these increases and why are some of those decreases. I want to reiterate that the full detail of our proposed budget is within this published proposed budget document, and there's a lot of background narratives that explains each department, each program's story of their budget. Today, as much detail as we get into is still going to be at a summary level, but if you have any questions for any fund, any program, we can definitely dive deeper into each one of them. So at the total level, we're seeing a $40 million increase in the total citywide appropriation, growing from roughly 1.24 billion to 1.28 billion, and that's about a 3.2% increase overall. So with that, we're going to go into each department's budget and then get a little more detailed explanation for the increases and decreases. And we have a short video for each functional area, so we're going to launch the first functional area, public safety video. Can we do video number 2, please?
The Glendale Police Department continues to remain a focus for the City of Glendale, ensuring the community is served by a department committed to protecting residents, strengthening public trust, and delivering a high standard of service. The department is working toward becoming a fully staffed agency and advancing technology-driven policing strategies. Over the past year, overall readiness has been strengthened through strategic resource planning and a focus on meeting the evolving needs of the community. The Glendale Police Department has also continued development of the Real-Time Intelligence Center, which provides officers with access to real-time data and video tools in the field. These capabilities support informed decision-making, strategic de-escalation, and coordinated response during incidents. Together, these efforts ensure the department remains prepared to meet the city's public safety needs today and into the future. The Glendale Fire Department continues to play a critical role in the overall well-being of the community. Over the past year, the department expanded by adding firefighter paramedics and fire prevention inspectors to meet growing service demands. In response to updated statewide wildfire hazard maps, the state designated over 7,400 additional properties within high-risk zones, significantly increasing inspection and prevention responsibilities for the department. This year, the department hosted its second annual Women's Fire Academy in partnership with the Burbank and Pasadena Fire Departments, continuing its commitment to promoting diversity and inclusion within the fire service. The department also invested in advanced training programs for specialized teams, including urban search and rescue and hazardous materials response, ensuring readiness for complex emergency situations for when they arise. Upgrades to fire stations have enhanced both operational efficiency and firefighter safety. Looking ahead, the department remains focused on serving the Glendale community with commitment and excellence.
Thank you. So we'll start with the fire department. There are two departments in public safety, fire and PD. So we'll start with the fire department. And for each department, for this year's presentation slides, we have basically the same structure. We start with this slide that provides you a general overview of the breakdowns, the programs within the department. And then we're going to launch into a table that talk about the numbers and the budget. So for fire, we have 7 programs under general fund. That includes administration, operations, emergency medical services, training, fire prevention, fire communications, and emergency services. So these are the 7 general fund programs within fire department. In addition to general fund, fire has 4 non-general fund programs, and that includes the hazardous disposal fund, fire grant fund, fire mutual aid fund, and fire communication fund. So with all of that, you can see that the fire department's total budget amounts to $106 million for fiscal year 26-27. That is about a $4.6 million increase, or 4.6% increase in the total budget. The majority of fire department's budget is in general fund. As you can see in this table, 96 of the 105. The rest is in non-general fund. As mentioned, we're going to focus a little more on the non-general fund today. And just looking at the fire department's funds, the hazardous disposal fund had a slight increase of about $200,000, or 11%. That is due to increase in contractual services that is needed to manage hazardous material disposal. The other funds, the grants fund, the mutual aid fund, and the communications fund, experienced decreases. In particular, the communications fund, which is the Verdugo Communications Center, had a $2 million decrease. Now, that does not reflect a decrease in operations. It's merely a decrease in terms of the capital expenditure that was planned for this year. As you are aware, that capital expenditures go into cyclical cycles, and this is just a year that this particular fund planned for less capital expenditures in this fund. So that's the story for the fire department. And then next is the police department. Do you have questions?
So, Councilmember Alsatrian asked a very good question. How will we do questions? I think that because we're going through each department, it would be a little difficult for us to keep all our questions till the very end. So I think that it would probably be best to do the questions after each section. So we're going through police and fire right now. If you find that, if you have a different opinion on that, I'm open to hearing it. But I think let's go through police and fire, and then afterwards let's do the questions for police and fire, and then we'll do it through the next department and the next department. Is that all right with everyone?
That's good, yeah.
All right, continue.
Okay. So we'll go into the police department. Police department has 5 general fund programs that includes administration, field services, investigative services, support services, and the office of the chief. In addition, they have 6 non-general fund, includes the asset forfeiture fund, police fund, supplemental law enforcement fund, police 2019 lease revenue refunding fund, joint air support fund, and wireless fund. So those are the 6 non-general fund. And this table summarizes the police department's total budget. The police department's total budget is $164 million compared to last year's $162. This year's budget is a $1.8 million increase with a 1.1% increase. Now, our public member might think to say, well, didn't we talk about a 3% cut? Why is there still a positive increase? Now, this is a good time to actually introduce the reasonable cut that we actually implemented are in the discretionary areas. There are a lot of non-discretionary increases, either were obligated by contract with vendors or with MOUs, particularly COLA, benefit increases. There are a lot of costs that is out of our control. So the cut is actually netted against those non-discretionary increases, which results in a very modest 1.1% increase for this year for PD. And in the non-general fund, as promised, that we're going to focus a little more on the non-general fund, you can see that our asset forfeiture fund had a little bit of decrease, and then there's some increase in the police fund. The $870,000 increase in the police fund is related with additional anticipated revenue that's coming in from the opioid settlement that is going to provide us more revenue in that fund. There's also significant decrease in the wireless fund, And that is particularly because of less capital projects that's planned in that fund, as well as a change in our budgeting methodology of not budgeting depreciation. So some of these funds actually has assets in them. And in the past, we have budgeted depreciations as part of the budget. But because depreciation is not a cash item, it doesn't actually drain the actual financial resources or the cash resources within the fund. So this year, we're implementing a best practice of not budgeting that. So there's a little bit of an effect of not budgeting depreciation in this fund. That's why you're seeing a large decrease in that particular fund. So that's the end of the my highlight of these two departments. Do you have any questions for fire or police?
Councilmember Najarian?
Off the bat, how time constrained are we with this presentation, Mr. Gulanian?
Councilmember Najarian, we have allotted time until 4 o'clock.
4? I thought it was till 5 on the
5, sorry,
agenda.
5 o'clock.
To 5, so we still
3
have,
hours.
we have a good full 2 hours plus if we decide to really
So
get
keep the
into it.
questions short, or can I expound?
No, if we need to follow up on any of the items that we're not able to respond to today, we can always bring it back on during the budget study session number 4.
Okay, so my one question, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The fire department has an increase of 4.6%.
Correct.
Are there additional, last meeting, we talked about additional revenues that our ambulance service is going to be obtaining. How is that justified or placed within that increase of expenditures budget? I mean, is there an offset? Do you see that as just a one-time funding? And because 4.6, little yellow light for me, not a red light. But I also understand that we're going to be, a lot of this, it's an increase in the general fund mainly, is due to our ambulance operators and other firefighters out there working, rescuing. But when they do that, they're getting funds back.
Correct.
So is that additional increase in funding through the Medi-Cal program or whichever particular state or governmental program that is that a significant offset to this 4.6 increase?
You are absolutely correct, Councilmember Najarian. So the majority of the fire department's increase is in general fund. You can see that in general fund is actually $7.8 million increase and 8.9% in that. And the majority of the additional revenue that your council has heard a couple of different times is related with the additional revenue coming in from the EMT services as well as the vegetation management services, which justifies the service level increase. Actually, fire is one of the departments that had some significant headcount increases this year because that we need the headcount to support those two programs that will bring in more revenue than the cost increase.
Okay, so we need to keep that in mind, maybe a little asterisk that there's additional revenues that are being generated by that additional expenditures. The other question's kind of general. There was a discussion about auditing the department. I think auditing is perhaps not the right word. Do we need a DOGE? Do we need a Department of Governmental Efficiency? Someone that's going to go in, chop, chop, chop. Everyone tells us to chop. Everyone. Go to the forum. Go to the candidate forum. Everyone says, oh, we're going to cut here, cut there, do that. Is there a built-in efficiency operation, or do we need an external, I don't want to say auditor, but an Elon Musk type? Ooh, I know, I touched a nerve. But in all seriousness, do we need an external review as to efficiencies citywide?
Councilmember Najarian, great question. I submit to you that we collectively, including every department, as you've heard, we have chopped and chopped to the tune of $17 million in 1 year. Can we bring a third-party consulting firm who is going to charge us $200,000, $300,000 to tell us we need to cut? Yes, we can, but we've already done that exercise. It's been painful, it's been difficult, but we have done what we need to do per your direction to submit to you a balanced budget with chopping $17 million.
I hope that as we go through the department surveys, you can emphasize those, because there are those out there. I mean, emphasize those efficiency efforts. There are those out there, someone that holds you in high esteem, who says we should bring an external efficiency expert in. But they need to know, residents, critics of the budget process need to know that we're doing that in each and every department and each and every level.
Yes, sir. And I would again emphasize that my direction to all the departments, and they've heeded, that we need to be in the process of a chronic streamlining, chronic evaluation of our processes, of our operations. A word was thrown out there about let's cut waste. Well, over the last few years, we have cut waste. There is no more waste to cut. What we have cut and what we'll be cutting, unfortunately, in the future is going to be services and, to some degree, perhaps layoffs, unless, I've said this before and I'll say it again, unless we have a sufficiently funded stream of new revenue.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. Yes, Mr. Councilmember Brotman.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same question about the reimbursables, and is there any way to net that out and to give us a sense of what the underlying increase is, or what the increase is that's not being offset by these additional revenues?
Yeah, we can follow up with that data. In fact, one of our pending improvements to our budget process is to bring revenues and appropriations together into a similar table, and that has not been in our adopted budget format in the past, but it is definitely a work in progress. But for this year, we can definitely provide a data file that can actually give you a good comparison of the revenues and the expenditures within each fund that will actually give you that net of
Okay,
of each
particularly
fund.
I'd be interested in the fire, because the fire general fund increase of 7.8%, I'm sorry, $7.8 million or 8.9%, that's pretty, eye-popping. So it would be useful to be able to understand, and for the public to understand, how much of that is offset by new revenues.
Yeah,
So if you could get us that by the next meeting, that would be great. The other question I have is, there's a lot of talk about overtime. Could you address the question of overtime in both police and fire? What are the trends? What is driving that overtime? What is a natural rate of overtime that we would expect in any organization like that, given the nature of the work they do?
Okay, well, I'll speak at a high level. As you may recall, in last year's budget, fiscal year 25-26, we actually right-sized overtime for both departments. What I understand by reading our past budget is that there has been a time where our actual overtime seeming to exceed the budget, and that is just, it's not necessarily irresponsible management, but it's really not right-sizing our budget to the actual overtime need. And when it comes to overtime, our departments can speak better than I do, but to my understanding that there are overtimes that's much needed during an emergency kind of event, during a short staffing kind of situation. It's not necessarily something that is discretion in nature. When we have to respond to a situation, we have to respond to a situation. By my monitoring of the fiscal year 25-26 overtime, it feels like that our budget has effectively been right-sized to the department's need. In fact, so far, through all of our financial update to your council, our overtime has been tracking pretty well with the progression of the year, and we're confident that we're going to be able to stay close to budget, under budget on both departments over time. So that's what I can tell you. Our trending of overtime has not really swung much in this year's operations, and from a financial management perspective, I'm very pleased to see that they are, I would define those are as under control within both departments.
Okay, and I think, I'm sorry, I was just going to say, I think, not for now, but maybe for next meeting, or maybe you can, put it in a memo or something. I think, it should go out to the public too. I think it would be helpful to understand what is the kind of the normal level of overtime structurally, because of the nature of the work they do. Our fire department, I know they're sometimes called to do mutual aid, right? Mm-hmm. We wouldn't want to staff levels that would that would already incorporate that because that's periodic, right? Sometimes they're called to help put out a wildfire somewhere else, and we get reimbursed for that. So, there's certain things where we would not want to staff to the level that would eliminate overtime because that would mean we have a lot of redundant resources. So what is the, I guess, appropriate level of overtime structurally, and how much of the overtime would we attribute to, I guess, being understaffed? And I say that because in the past, that was the situation. We had a lot of vacancies, right? And we were maybe compensating for that to some extent with overtime, and that would be, financially not optimal, right? We've filled those vacancies. We've added to our police department. We've added, I think, close to 20 officers to our police department. That should have addressed those kind of, unnecessary levels of overtime. And what we should be left with is natural overtime. And I'd like to communicate that because there is an impression that this overtime is somehow an inefficiency in our operations.
Thank you, Councilmember Rahman. Actually, I was going to say the exact same things. Yes, this council has approved additional police officer position. However, we haven't been able to fill all those positions as of today, right? It takes effort, recruitments take time. So that's part of the reason why we have some overtime. And we also have some folks on duty that were injured that are on leave. So we have to compensate for that as well. But we will get you that information.
And we wouldn't want to replace those people because the people that are on leave are going to come back, and then we would double up. So that's the thing, I think, to make sure we make the public understand, we understand what is a normal, healthy level of overtime.
Okay.
Mr. Tuktani, did you want to add something?
I think the only thing I'd like to add is just a clarification on the statement that's been made a couple of times as it relates to overtime and how it's not tracked. That's actually not true. The overtime for police and fire are both tracked with respect to job codes, reason codes. They both use the telestaff system for their payroll. And for fire, for example, we'll track it if it's for mutual aid. We'll track it if it's for minimum staffing, callback. We'll track it for things like training, things of that nature.
Go ahead. Do any of my other colleagues have questions? Councilmember Asadrian, and then Councilmember Karpetian.
With respect to the EMT services, I know we've previously talked about increased wall time at the hospitals. And I know that at least, I get a lot of messages from folks about one of our hospitals and their emergency room always being full, if you will. Do we get reimbursed appropriately? Say if you had someone that was on overtime already and then now they're wall time, they're stuck at the hospital for 2 hours before somebody is taken in. Do we get reimbursed at that rate, or how does that work?
Yeah, Councilmember Satrian, there is no reimbursement from the hospital. That's called APOT, or ambulance patient offload time. That is a metric that's constantly being monitored by the county, as well as we monitor that throughout the shift. If our resources are at the hospital for greater than 30 minutes, they make a phone call to the on-duty battalion chief. They'll reach back out to the hospital to make sure that we can decrease that time as much as possible. But I'll say it not only in the county, but that's a statewide initiative that's being looked at, but there is no reimbursement mechanism or time frame on when that would be reimbursed.
Are you seeing an increase in wall time
Actually,
at our hospitals?
thankfully, that number's come down. And
Okay.
again, based on the relationships we have with our hospitals, strong relationships across all of our hospitals, that's enabled us to have those conversations more readily, but we have seen a decrease in wall time currently.
Okay. I don't know if you want to stay up, but I think it's just general, a couple of other comments I had. During the last budget session, we had also directed staff to look at some of the contracts that we have. That included the contracts with fire, it was dispatch. I believe with police, there were a couple of funds that had a contract for coordination with other cities that we weren't charging admin fees that were supposed to be looked at. Perhaps this is something if you have any updates on where we are with those, and if there are going to be any changes. If there are changes, are they reflected in the budget? Or we can wait until putting in this request for budget 4 to get updates on those. But I think part of that conversation was also having staff, and I believe the mayor were to have discussions with our GUSD partners for the school resource officers, I'm just trying to remember things off the top of my head that I know that we pay for. That was supposed to be also part of the conversation for joint use projects for our parks and so forth. So I don't know where we are with all of that, and if there's been any, Go ahead. It feels like you want to say something.
I'll wait till you're finished.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Councilman Massakian, good memory, yes. I, at least on my level with my counterpart, GUSD, have been having these conversations, and in the hopes of being able to get some kind of funding for the services that we provide and we don't get reimbursed for. As you know, the school district's also in a difficult budgetary situation currently, and there hasn't been any forward movement. I'll just leave it at that as far as the school district is concerned on those requests. As of last week, Mayor Kasakian and I held our quarterly meeting with the school district and their board representative, and we again brought it up, and notes were taken, but I'm sure we have been told that they're not in a financial position to be able to assist with reimbursing for those costs currently.
I mean, it's easy to say, we could say the same thing, correct? But what would be the process for us to request a formal negotiation on those?
Formal negotiations?
You go and ask someone for something, they're like, I don't have money for it. I get it, and that would be it makes sense that they're saying that, right?
That is true.
But there has to be a process for a formal negotiation for something that is in our books.
Right.
And looking at ways that we continue to partner with our school district on, maybe covering some of it, but there should be some formal negotiation, because I could see that their quick response would be, well, we have a budget issue too.
Right. So I will bring that up in a more formal manner.
I'm seeing our interim chief. I don't know if he's.
I will bring that up. The chief staff provide that service, but I will bring that up formally and ask that we reopen the topic and enter into a new series of discussions with them and see where we can take it.
Okay. Could you please have staff pull up the list of things that we had talked about last time during the budget session, and if we can get it before the next budget session? Thank you.
Councilmember Garpetian.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to say this is it's done very well. It's easy to understand because this is a big budget and every department has different departments within departments. So by the way, this is separated into general fund and non-general fund, makes it easier. And the following page, it tells you the budget for or appropriation for every non-general fund, as well as the total appropriation for the general fund for both police and fire, because these are the largest departments of our general fund. The budget goes to these two departments. What I would like to know from today or tomorrow until next budget study is the general fund. There are different departments like administration, services, fields for police department. There are 5 departments. I would like to know what is their budget per department, basically, for the upcoming session. And as far as our counterparts of school and police, school and college, of course, it's always easy to say, well, I don't have the money, do what you want to do. There's an old saying that says this guy owes another guy $1,000. This guy always calls and says, what happened to my money? He says, well, I'll pay you, and he never pays. So the guy calls and says, pay me $800, forget about $1,000. Says, okay, I'll pay you, but never pays. Then the guy calls back and says, okay, $600. Then the guy says, I already paid you $400. Wait a little bit more, I'll pay you the rest. So that's the way, that's where we're going right now. I think it's just, and I know that our college, GCC, they raised $600 million of bonds. Was it 2 years ago? And
pretty much.
when we want to do the same thing for $50,000, it's a big problem. But they raised $600 million. I heard that school district, they want to post a bond for another, I don't know, $300-400 million. And prior to that, GCC also had $400 million in bonds. It's $1 billion within the last 10 to 15 years, if I'm not mistaken. And then it handcuffs us in order to do something on this side for infrastructure, for example. So we have 3 different departments or 3 different governments within a city, but we all serve the same constituents. So there has to be some sort of a collaboration between all of us when these funds are raised by other entities. With that, these are the questions that I had. I want to know basically the general fund portion of both police and fire, what the cost or the appropriations are for every department.
Each one of the programs?
Yes.
I got you.
That's all I have right now. Thank
Yes,
you.
go ahead, Councilmember.
If I can
Sajjan.
make a recommendation, because the conversation led me to think about, other cities actually do public joint meetings with their counterparts. I haven't seen us do one, and I think it would be great for us to perhaps organize one where we do one with Glendale Community College, we do one with GCC, and it's a public forum and public
Yeah.
meetings.
It's been some time since that was done. It was done a while back, but it has been significant time.
I think last one was in
I think that'd be great.
2017 or 2018.
There you go. It's been, okay. Thank you.
All right, please continue.
Okay. We'll move on to our next functional area, and that is our infrastructure functional area. If we can bring up video number 3, please.
Wait, I think we.
Improving the infrastructure that residents rely on every day, from streets and sidewalks to sewer systems and public facilities, as well as providing first-rate public works services to the Glendale community, such as refuse collection, recycling, transit, and public parking programs. Over the past year, the department completed several major projects, including roadway rehabilitation, slope stabilization, and ADA accessibility improvements that enhance safety and mobility throughout the city. Significant progress was also made in modernizing the sewer system through extensive inspection efforts that will guide future infrastructure investments. One of the most notable ongoing efforts is the La Crescenta Avenue Rehabilitation Project, which incorporates roadway redesign, reconstruction of curbs and sidewalks, and improvements to stormwater management features. Looking ahead, Public Works will continue advancing large-scale capital improvement projects, including the Central Park Block Project, which will transform a key area of the city into a destination public space. The department is also exploring alternative funding strategies and innovative programs, such as traffic speed safety initiatives, to improve services while maintaining fiscal responsibility. Glendale Water and Power provides safe and reliable water and electric services that support the daily needs of residents and businesses. Over the past year, GWP has continued investing in the reliability and long-term sustainability of its systems, maintaining critical infrastructure and advancing key capital improvement projects. Efforts have focused on strengthening the city's water supply, modernizing the electric grid, and supporting clean energy initiatives that align with statewide goals. This includes continued investment in solar energy through multi-phase projects across the city, expanding access to renewable power, and supporting a more dependable energy system. A major milestone is the advancement of the Grayson Repowering Project, which is modernizing the city's power generation facility with cleaner, more efficient technology designed to meet future energy demands while reducing emissions. Looking ahead, Glendale Water and Power will continue to prioritize infrastructure improvements, resource reliability, and environmental responsibility while supporting the city's broader sustainability efforts. Through these initiatives, the department continues to deliver dependable services while supporting the long-term needs of the Glendale community.
All right, so the next two departments that's in the infrastructure functional area is Glendale Water and Power as well as Public Works. And both of these are very large departments. Glendale Water and Power is a non-general fund department. This is the department that doesn't have any general fund involvement. All of its funds are enterprise in nature and special revenue in nature. So there are 9 non-general funds within Glendale Water and Power, and that is represented on page 97 to 112 in the proposed budget document. So this is a list of funds, and again, all of these are non-general fund within Glendale Water and Power. You can see that there is a group of electric fund, and then there's a group of water fund. The two largest fund within this mix is 5820, the Electric Works Revenue Fund, as well as 5920, Waterworks Revenue Fund. Those two are the main operating fund for the electric operations and the water operations. Besides those two, there's the Electric Depreciation Fund, Water Depreciation Fund, the Electric Customer Paid Capital Fund, Water Customer Paid Capital Fund. Those are all capital fund in nature that they support the capital projects within each one of those respective areas. And in addition, there is, at the top, there is the Electric Public Benefit Fund and the Fiber Optic Fund. So all of this fund followed its own development within this year's budget. You can see the two main operating funds, the 5820 and the 5920. Those two funds really did not fluctuate very much. The 5920, in fact, had a little bit of a decrease in their operations as well. And on the capital side, there are some significant decreases that you can see. And again, that it's not necessarily a true decrease in the capital project, but actually is how we account for the depreciations in those two funds that accounted for the majority of the change in those funds. I want to say the Electric Public Benefit Fund, that's one that actually increased about $2.3 million, $2.4 million, and that's 25%. And those are due to new programs that got added to the Electric Public Benefit Fund for the benefit of the public. And Fiber Optic Fund had a little bit of decrease in that fund. That is a fund that is actually going through a little bit of a reimagining of the fund strategy, the business strategy, and we're working actively with GWP on that portion. We can see that the activity in this fund potentially can get a lot more active in the future years, but right now it's not very active because it's going through a strategy reimagination process. So that's kind of the highlight of the Glendale Water and Power. And I forgot to mention the total budget. The total budget of Glendale Water and Power is $475 million, and with a $4.9 million increase, it's about overall increase about 1% compared to last year. And then we have Public Works. Public Works has a lot of general fund programs. It has 14 general fund programs, and I'm not going to name each one of them. They're all presented on this slide with a little bit of description. And on the next 2 pages, there are 17 additional funds that are non-general fund that's managed by Public Works as well. On the first slide, slide number 15, you can see that there's a number of funds that starts with the number 2, and those are special revenue funds that are either supported by a measure, by one of the propositions, or special grants that comes in and fund some of those operations. As well as there are funds that starts with the number 4. Those are the capital project funds that are either a general fund supported capital or gas tax supported, as well as a landfill post-closure fund. And we have a budget that's in that particular fund as well. In addition, there are funds that starts with 5. Those are the sewer and the refuse fund at the very bottom of the slide. And those are the enterprise funds that Public Works manages, and those are more of enterprise kind of operations that offers services to the public. last but not least, we have a fund that starts with number 6, which includes a fleet and building maintenance fund. Those are the internal service funds that provides the internal services to the rest of the city departments. So those are the non-general fund. So overall, public works, we have to put it on 2 slides, actually, because there are so many lines in public works. The total budget for public works is $237 million. And of that 237, only about $30 million is general fund. All the rest is non-general fund. And overall, this department's budget increased by about $30 million, and there's or 14.4%. I want to say that within that $30 million increase, actually, if you look a couple line above, within Fund 4030, the landfill post-closure fund, there's a $60 million increase in budget this year, and that actually is a huge part of this net increase in public works. And the story with that is that we have a committed fund balance in the landfill post-closure fund that is basically sitting there waiting for the landfill to close and then to kick in the costs that's related with post-closure activities. And this year, we are proposing a strategy to invest $60 million worth of the fund balance into a Section 115 trust that will earn a better interest than where it's sitting right now. For comparisons, in the city's current portfolio, we're earning about 3.5% on an annual basis, and within the Section 115 trust, we are earning on an average since inception 5% and above. Wow. Actually, in the later years, it's well above that percentage. So without doing much different, we're seeing a 2% earning difference that we can benefit from that, and then we can rechannel that fund back to the landfill post-closure fund when the landfill actually closes, and actually we need to start.
And that trust fund would only be allowed to be used for that specific designated use, correct?
Correct.
Yes. I just wanted the public to know, because sometimes there's these assumptions that money gets shuffled around. And the reality of it is when they're in these trust funds, like they are for paying down the pensioner, they can only be used for those purposes.
Non-discretionary.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Member of City Council, I just briefly want to credit Mr. Leung for this initiative. He actually came up with that idea, so we appreciate that.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. So if we take off that $60 million budget increase for public works, we're actually seeing a net roughly $30 million decrease in budget. Before you get worried, I want to say that the majority of that decrease, as you can see, is in the sewer fund, which is a 5250, as well as in the refuse fund, which is in the 5300. And the reason we're seeing a significant decrease is not necessarily we're spending less or planning less capital project. It's just that there are some pending capital projects that the amount has not been determined yet. In particular, with the sewer fund, there are some joint projects with Los Angeles that we're still determining the actual amount for those projects, and then those projects will come back to our council for appropriation later. And that's actually the story for the infrastructure departments. Do you have any questions?
All right, any questions so far? Yes, Councilmember Garpetian.
Okay, on that count 5930 water depreciation fund, it went from almost 5 million to 23 million. Can you explain that, what
Yes. that
is?
Yeah, for the water depreciation fund, as mentioned, that's the majority of the capital project, and specifically customer rate funded capital projects that's necessary to invest in our water works. For this particular year, as you have heard in a previous presentation, that there's this AMI project that is ongoing within the water fund, and that is a majority of the increase in project funding for the water depreciation fund.
Okay. And on public works side, so 29, almost 30 million is from general fund, and the rest is either funded by different measures or grants, am I correct? Or fees that we charge, like the landfill sewer fund is refuse disposal fund. The transit utility fund, can you elaborate on that? What is that? And also fleet management fund.
Yeah, the transit utility fund is it holds the operation of the B-line operation.
Okay, that's the B-line, okay. And the fleet management fund?
The fleet management fund is the internal service fund that provides fleet services throughout the city's departments.
And that budget comes from where?
Oh, that budget comes from an internal service rate that gets charged from fleet to all the other departments that use
To all the
fleet
other
vehicles.
departments. So this cost is basically divided between different departments.
Correct.
And electric public benefit fund, the $2.3 million increase is due to rates being changed?
There are a couple new programs that's in the electric public benefit fund. Let me see if I have some note on that. There's the demand response, a new renewable energy program that's budgeted for about $925,000. There's an off-peak EV charging incentive program, home energy and water upgrades, and small business direct installation programs. So those are all additional programs that got budgeted within that fund. I don't know if we have changed any of the rate for the public benefit. So
Yeah,
there has not been any rate change for that.
And lastly, the state gas tax fund, is this the amount that we receive from the state, we get back from the state because of the gas tax?
For the gas tax fund, this is the amount that we plan to spend out of the fund. The revenue side, we have to get back to you on that. Actually, I may have
I
that.
think, Mr. Yang, the question is not the amount, but you are correct, Councilmember Garpetian. It's the gas tax that we receive from the state.
Because I remember it was like $6 million a year that we received. Is it the same and we're spending 2.8, or is it different?
I'm going to
I remember
turn
it was a
Public
big number.
Works.
40/20.
Mr. Hernandez.
So on the revenue side, we receive approximately $10 million. Although the expense on this side looks low, we appropriate when we bring projects forward. So right now, this is what we have planned, but as we bring forward projects, we'll appropriate funds based on the fund balance.
So the gas tax fund is $10 million on revenue side?
Yes.
It has gone up tremendously.
It's about 11.4 for this year. It has grown.
11.4?
Yep.
Okay.
It's funded.
And that's being used to fix the roads? Pave the roads?
Primarily, yes.
Primarily, okay, thank you. Okay. That's all I have, thank you, Mayor.
Go ahead.
All right. Okay, so we're going to move to the next.
Yes, go ahead, Councilmember Brotman.
Sorry I think this might be brought up last week. The Office of Sustainability shifting into,
Your mic.
apologies. The Office of Sustainability, the shift from management services into GWP. What's the, what are the dollars associated with that?
Yeah, actually, I think we have a quick tally for that. So within GWP this year, roughly we shifted about, we budgeted about 500,000 within GWP for sustainability office budget.
500,000, okay. And have we looked closely at the Prop 218 issues on that? That's probably more for Mr. Garcia.
We have not completed that assessment, and we haven't had a chance to talk with staffs about that, but we will before we
Okay.
bring the matter back.
Okay. I'm a little worried about that and whether Prop 218 might limit what that office can do, that, you know, things that they're doing today that may not be appropriate for them to do.
The only thing that I might add to that is certain things have not changed with respect to that office. When that office was established, some of the costs were already appropriated to the Glendale Water and Power to begin with. So salaries, the vast majority of Mr. Jones's salary was already attributed to GWP. I think the shift we're talking about is the remainder of the staff, which is only one person and maybe some M&O.
Okay, but still, some of their work extends beyond, you know, energy and water.
We will look into that and report back.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Okay, Yeah, I think that's it.
Go ahead.
I know we had gotten a clean energy officer for Glendale Water and Power. That was one of the new positions. How are they going to be, are they going to be working with the sustainability now, or is it going to be still, can somebody walk me through the
I'm
details?
going to have GWP answer that question.
Yeah, at a high level, that's correct, but Mr. Mellon will provide more details.
Good afternoon. Yeah, as of right now, what we're planning on doing is having sustainability officer report to the clean energy officer, because it kind of falls under the whole purview of how we plan on addressing those kind of things.
Okay, and is it, how many staff are going over to Glendale Water and Power?
1.4.
2 bodies, but the charges will be 1.4, because as Mr. Taktalian mentioned, some of our sustainability officers' salary was already being charged to GWP. So two bodies.
Okay. Are you going to be overseeing it then, or can you walk me through the structure?
Well, the structures we're talking about now, yeah. So it would be the clean energy officer would be over the sustainability officer. The clean energy officer would report to the AGM of power supply, who would report to me.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Continue.
All right, we'll move on to the next functional area, which is a quality of life. Can we cue video number 4, please?
The Community Services and Parks Department shapes quality of life by maintaining parks and open spaces, delivering programs and services, and supporting community well-being. Over the past year, the department has expanded access to open space, including the acquisition of a new site in South Glendale that will be developed into a future park. Major improvements were completed across several facilities, including the award-winning renovation of Fremont Park, which introduced modern amenities and upgraded community spaces. The department also secured millions of dollars in grant funding to support both capital improvements and community programs, strengthening its ability to serve residents. In the coming year, the department will continue investing in park upgrades, including playground replacements, field renovations, and new recreational amenities across the city. Through these efforts, the department continues to deliver accessible, high-quality spaces that bring the community together. The Community Development Department helps guide Glendale's growth. Over the past year, development services, affordable housing, code enforcement, and several more department operations have advanced several key initiatives to support safe, sustainable, and well-managed development throughout the city. Efforts included expanding affordable housing opportunities, strengthening coordination between housing and homeless services, and implementing updated building codes that prioritize safety and compliance. The department also worked to streamline internal processes to improve efficient service delivery for residents and customers. In addition, new communication and public engagement strategies were introduced to increase community participation in planning efforts. Looking ahead, the department will continue updating key elements of the city's general plan, helping to guide Glendale's long-term growth and development. Library, Arts, and Culture serves as a cornerstone of community engagement, providing free access to information, programs, cultural experiences, and public art throughout the city. Over the past year, the department served over 640,000 visitors across its 8 locations, offering a wide range of programming and services that promote learning, creativity, and connection for residents of all ages. Library usage remains strong, with significant participation in over 2,000 educational programs, dozens of digital resources, and outreach at community events. The department also expanded its public art initiatives, including a new installation at Fremont Park that enhance shared spaces and reflect the city's identity. Signature events and programs, such as Dia de los Muertos and the Summer Reading Challenge, continue to bring the community together.
Thank you.
Excellent.
All right, so we have 3 departments within this functional area. Community development, community services and parks, and library and art and culture. So we'll start with community development. Community development is a large department as well. It has 7 different general fund programs. It includes administration, planning, building and safety, long-range planning and mobility, neighborhood services, housing programs, and homeless services. That's on slide number 18. And then we have 17 additional funds within community development, where we have to put it on multiple slides as well. On this slide, number 19, these are special revenue funds that are primarily housing related, a variety of different grant fund, external funding, Measure H that come in and support housing initiatives. And then on the second slide, slide number 20, we have, in addition to the 2 serial funds, we also have capital funds, which includes 4010, the Capital Improvement Fund, CIP Reimbursement Fund, as well as the San Fernando Corridor Tax Share Fund, and Housing Development Impact Fees. So all of these are project-related funds that funds projects. The total budget for community development is $82 million. That's a slight decrease of $2.6 million, or 3.1% decrease compared to the year before. And if you look at the dollar amounts, the majority of the decrease is within general fund. That's where community development came in and then actually participated in the 3% cut. But also, a big portion of this decrease is due to an internal reorganization where economic development moved from community development into management services. So that accounts for about $2.3 million of a decrease in the general fund. Besides the general fund portion, the Housing Assistance Fund may be a point of interest because that is where the emergency housing voucher program was housed. So there was a $4.5 million decrease in this budget number of $56 million that's built into this. There's also some increases related with housing assistance program vouchers, a $2.5 million for the regular voucher and $1.7 million in the portable voucher. You may recall that since when we developed this proposed budget, there has been council actions that approved additional funding to support temporary measures of the emergency housing voucher. That is not included in the proposed budget, but it will be included as a follow-up item that gets into the adopted budget when you're looking at the adopted budget in June. Other than that, all the other funds basically follow its revenue pattern. There are some increases, some decreases. And for the Capital Improvement Fund, this year we don't have projects out of that fund. That's why you're seeing a 0 budget for now in 26-27. And for this 4100 San Fernando Corridor Tax Shared Fund, there is a new project that's appropriate in there, which is related with the Faircourt land improvement projects that will cost about $1 million. So those are the major changes for the community development department. Next, we have a community services and parks department, and another large department with a lot of general fund programs, 18 general fund programs in total that covers all areas of community services and parks. In addition to the general fund, we have 10 additional funds, 10 non-general funds that's within the community services and parks that spans across CDBG, workforce fund, GYA, grant fund, nutritional meals, capital improvement, parks mitigation, parks Quimby fee fund, CIP reimbursement fund, and Measure 8 parks fund. And this table shows the total budget for community services and parks. The total budget came to $40 million in total, which is a $3 million decrease compared to the year before, or 7% decrease compared to the year before. If you look through the list, the majority of the decrease is concentrated in 2060, the workforce fund. And the reason for that fund is that there's a discontinue of a one-time grant that we received last year, which resulted into about a $2 million decrease in that particular fund. So it's a revenue-related decrease for community services and parks. All right, next department that we're going to talk about is the library, art, and culture. Library, art, and culture has 13 general fund programs within general fund that covers the whole library services. And then we have 4 non-general fund within library art and culture. That includes the Urban Art Fund, the Library Fund, Capital Improvement Fund, and Library Mitigation Fee Fund. The Urban Art Fund and Library Fund are special revenue funds, so the revenue that comes into those funds are restricted to specific uses. And the Capital Improvement Fund and the Library Mitigation Fee Fund are capital project funds. The total budget for libraries this year is $17.4 million, and that is a very slight increase of $59,000 compared to the year before, or 0.3% increase. The majority of libraries' operation is also in the general fund with $14.3 million, and also had a slight decrease due to the budget reductions that we talked about earlier, which netted to about $59,000 of decrease in the library's general fund. Okay, I think that concludes my presentation for the quality of life functional area. What questions do you have?
Who has questions on this item?
I have, I actually just have some general comments and requests for additional information. This reminded me of a couple of months ago, I had reached out. I had seen one of the procurement or RFPs out for concerts in the park, and was told that I asked why we can't have them in different languages, and was told that the translation services were cut during the budget last year that we were using. I would like to see a comparison. For me, parks, arts, libraries, all of these things are what make Glendale great. They are often not talked about enough because people love them, they use them, but you start taking away the quality of life when you start chipping away at these things that bring community together, create for healthier communities. So I would like to see a comparison for those two of specific programs that we ended up cutting during the last budget session, and then next to it, a chart of all the programs that are going to be part of the cuts for this year. I think we need to look at a holistic approach to this, and especially if you're doing year after year of cuts, I want us to have a full picture of what we had 2 years ago, and then what we're looking at continuously cutting in these. With community development, are we cutting anything from permitting? Are we cutting staffing? Are we cutting?
Councilman Sargent, definitely not cutting staffing.
Right. There will be, I believe there are some reductions in contractual services, and that's to the extent of the reduction. And even with that, the reduction was related with contracts that we haven't been utilizing before, so it's not actually cutting anything that's currently ongoing right now.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councilmember Najarian.
So with regard to some of the public works departments, and let's talk about permitting and the others. Have we ever thought about going out and contracting for those services with third parties? I mean, we were at the Contract Cities event, and there's several large companies that other cities use. And not to say anything bad about our staff, but it's quick, it's relatively inexpensive, there's no HR problems, you can direct them without going through the inertia that sometimes larger cities have.
Yes. Thank you, Councilmember Najarian. As a matter of fact, Mr. Wong, Jack Wong, and I have been having conversations around this topic since he came on board. This has been something that I have been trying to implement in community development department, especially planning and building and safety permitting processes. We do have an extraordinarily large number of applications compared to other cities, other city managers that I have talked to. And in that sense, our current staffing levels are not sufficient to be able to process these permits in a reasonable time frame. So that said, we do have currently contracts with a handful of plan check consultants, as well as 2 new consulting firms that we have received proposals from. So it's in the works. It's going to be a combination of in-house and outside consulting third-party permit processing efforts.
One moment, let me just, do you have follow-up? Councilmember Garpetian and then Councilmember Alsatrian.
Thank you. Page 24, workforce fund, that went from 8.9 to 5.1 million. And I'm looking at the description of that fund. It says, houses Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act funding along with other competitive workforce development grants. What does this fund do? And when it goes down, I know it was a one-time revenue that came in and we don't have that. What happens to that program in between?
Okay, that's a good question. I'll invite our Community Services and Parks to answer that question.
Good afternoon, Mayor Kasaki and members of the council. So the Workforce Development Fund, those are the employees that are housed at the Verdugo Job Center, and they provide career services to the residents in Glendale, Burbank, and La Cañada. So the grant that we had, which was a one-time grant, was for the early childhood education, and that grant was used by our staff to provide direct assistance to families that needed services. Early childhood education.
So when the grant goes away, the program goes away too, or the
Yes.
service goes away too?
Yes, the service goes away.
Okay, thank you. One last question about the Public Works. I'm not sure, was it last week or the week before that we had a report on the road improvement and the programs and plans that we have, all the projects that Public Works has in works, basically, all the projects that are in the queue, and it was like $60 million in grant funds, Measure R, Measure M. And when I look at these numbers, they don't add up to close to it. Page 16, and I don't know if I'm looking at it differently or like Measure R, Regional Return Fund, and Measure W Fund, Measure M Fund. You add these up, they're probably Measure A, Measure C, Props A, Prop C. I don't know, maybe they're but less than 30 million.
Mr. Hernandez can respond.
So as I indicated in my previous comment, so a lot of times our projects are funded at the time of award. So those projects, when we come back, when we're ready to award them, that's when we'll allocate the funds. So that's when you'll see the increase in those expenditures.
So we have the funds, but they're not indicated here because the project is not in the works at
Correct.
this time?
It's based on what's been approved and been appropriated already.
Okay. All right.
And I'll add, there are also previously authorized projects that has been carrying forward from prior years. So they're not included in this year's appropriation, but then they'll be carried forward and included in the revised budget.
Oh. All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, Councilmember Alsatrian and then
Just
Councilmember
on the
Brown.
permitting, Mayor Kasakian and I were at the Google I/O conference and had the opportunity to also interact with some of the other mayors and council members. One of them specifically noted that they had switched over to, they haven't gotten rid of staff. They have implemented AI, which has reduced their plan check from 3 months to 30 minutes. This is something that we've been talking about for a very long time, and my hope is that we can get some sort of update on if we're gonna ever look into that, or if you guys need connections to what other cities are using. You're shaking your head.
I'm shaking my head, Councilman Sardian, because we don't need references. Last year, we started that conversation with a third-party private outfit. We're testing their AI system. This would be for first round of plan checks.
Right.
And we've been coordinating with our IT department. We want to make sure that it's safe software that we can use. It has been implemented in other large cities, and we are actively pursuing it.
Okay, is there some timeline that you have on
I
that?
don't have a timeline, but we can get an update as soon as, I guess, Mr. Bradford has a timeline.
Thank you, Mr. Galani, Mayor Kasakian, members of the council member Satrin. It is in our budget for this year to do AI plan check. We've been working with a company called Archistar. It has worked with other cities in the burn areas. We're very encouraged by it. We've talked to the cities with their experience. We think it's a huge time saver, and certainly as you indicated. So our timeline is to get the pilot up program running this summer.
And what's it called?
Archistar.
What?
Archisoft?
Archistar.
Archistar.
As in architectural, to
Oh,
Arcstar.
all right.
Star, okay.
And then, thank you, Mr. Bradford. And then lastly, I know when we last talked about looking at Maple Park to add the amenity for children with autism, we were also looking, we were going to wait for the budget session because there was some grant that was going to be coming in or potentially coming in, shifting funds. Can we give a status update?
Great question. That's part of the CIP plan, and we submitted $121,000 to fence the playground at Maple Park. So that's in the
Study
study
session number
session.
3.
Yeah, one of the study sessions, the CIP study session, and we're submitting $121,000 to use in CIP funds.
Okay. And were we able to get that other grant?
That other grant, we're still working on it. That's for Montrose Park. We submitted a proposal to the nonprofit organization that's going to apply for the grant.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go
Can I
ahead,
go ahead?
Councilmember Brotman.
Yeah, so back to community development, I don't know if you said this. You mentioned that of the decrease, it's 1.9
Yep.
million in the general fund for community development. You said 2.3 of that is because of the economic development move into management services. So if we net that out, then there's a small increase in, what would that percentage increase be? Do you
About 400,000, and that's related with, as I mentioned earlier, the non-discretionary portion of the increases, including COLA, including staff increases, benefit cost increases of the staff that's housed within that.
Okay, staff increases, where are we increasing?
No, not staff increases, but step increases for existing staff.
Increases, I understand, okay.
Yep.
And, this is, well, as far as, you already said on the permit side, there's no reduction in headcount, and that's pretty much across the board. Same in code enforcement?
Correct.
We're holding on to our same levels. We're not growing it, we're not reducing it.
Correct. Yeah, there's no headcount increase or decrease this year. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think those are two, permit services and code enforcement are two things I'm hearing a lot of complaints about, just from the public's point of view, we're not doing enough. It doesn't necessarily mean throwing more dollars at it is the solution. Certainly in permit services, it sounds like technology is probably the solution, but I just, thought I would stress that because I do hear it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Councilmember Brotman, you're not alone in that hearing complaints. I get it from the rest of the council members as well as directly to me. But we are approaching this in a multi-pronged manner. It's going to be the use of technology, use of third-party consulting companies, as well as some restructuring within the department to streamline and improve the permitting processes.
Yeah. I'd also be interested to know how much money we've spent in code enforcement removing illegal yard signs. They're all over the place. And I know a lot of people are putting in My Glendale app reports, and we're sending people out to remove them.
I'm doing it for free.
It's a
I'm
real,
kidding.
it's a real waste of resources.
All right. So if we can just keep moving, because I know that there's
Okay.
still departments that we need to get through. We're making a good pace. We're on a good pace right now, but let's continue. And then
Okay,
we'll stop
Urban
again.
Art Fund, just two more questions. Urban Art Fund, what's our balance in that fund?
That's a good question.
You have that?
Okay, we'll have to follow up on that.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, well, the library director can give you that information, so you
Okay.
don't have to wait.
And then my other question, which is also about library arts and culture, is what are the total dollars associated with these reductions in hours and the cut of the library in Adams Square? If we were to reverse that, what dollar figure are we talking about?
Okay, we'll have Les answer the Urban Art Fund question, and then in the meantime, we'll look up the reduction items.
So currently, or not currently, as of the end of April, the Urban Art Fund had $9,025,123.97.
However, we do have a drawdown plan.
Yes, correct. And a budget of $2.2 million every year for it.
Okay.
Well, is that report done, Mr. Kalania?
Which report?
She was going to put together a strategic plan, or?
What's the status of the strategic plan?
So we have the Urban Art Project Plan, which we adopted back in 2018. I believe the drawdown one that she is speaking to, I can resend that if you would like to share it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd like to see it as well. All right. Or
Yeah,
have
and
a
then the
refresher on
total
it.
dollars, my second question.
Yeah, we'll have Cervantes answer the question.
So for Adams Square, it would be about 60,000.
So it's $60,000 for this fiscal year because that's only 6 months worth of the rent and utilities. It's about $120,000 total, but the staffing level for it would really only cover the 6 months for this year. So the staffing would have to be increased next year as well, or would have to be
Okay, so the
increased.
total, could you give me a dollar for, what would be the impact of this year's budget if we were to reverse those library cuts?
All of them or just Adams Square?
Adams Square and the Chevy Chase Library.
Adams,
have to get
I
that
have to, I can't do that kind of math on the spot,
Okay,
but we
that's
can
fine.
get that
If you-
number.
If you could work on it, and then if
you
we
could
get
get
it
that.
done
Yeah.
before this conclusion of this meeting, that would be helpful. Thank you.
I don't need it for this meeting, but maybe for our next meeting?
If we can
Okay.
figure it out.
We have designated a one study session just for follow-up on council's request,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, if it's okay, I think because the reduction in the hour reductions is covers multiple libraries. So if staff can have a little more time just to separate by location, that would actually be helpful for us.
And if I could just clarify, the reason why Lessa mentioned that it would be 6-month savings in the first year is because under the existing lease agreement, we're obligated to provide the lessor 6 months advance notice prior to termination. So we wouldn't be able to make a move until December or January. That's the half year. But every year after that would be about $120,000 just in the lease, I believe.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, and now we'll move on to our last functional area, which is central support. Can we bring up video number 5, please?
The Finance Department plays a critical role in maintaining the city's fiscal health by overseeing budgeting, financial reporting, and core financial operations. Over the past year, the department supported the development and management of a $1 billion city budget while ensuring compliance with state and federal requirements. Additionally, the department processed 30,000 vendor payments, processed 26 payrolls for over 1,800 employees, and facilitated 130 purchasing solicitations. The department also enhanced financial systems through improved integration with other city platforms, increasing efficiency and reporting capabilities. In addition, Finance received national recognition for excellence in financial reporting and budget presentation, reflecting its commitment to transparency and accountability. Looking ahead, the department will continue to prioritize fiscal sustainability, operational efficiency, and strategic financial planning. The Information Technology Department supports citywide operations by delivering secure, reliable, and innovative technology solutions. Over the past year, the department has completed major upgrades to critical systems and infrastructure, such as cybersecurity improvements, expanded digital tools and technology upgrades at key facilities like the Central Library and the Glendale Police Department's Real-Time Intelligence Center. In the coming year, the department will continue modernizing systems, expanding public Wi-Fi access, and implementing tools to improve digital accessibility and public engagement. These efforts position the city to better serve residents through efficient and user-friendly technology. The Human Resources Department supports the city's workforce through recruitment, training, employee relations, employee health and safety, and organizational development. Over the past year, the department introduced new digital platforms that modernize training and performance management processes, improving efficiency and accessibility for employees. In turn, leadership development opportunities have strengthened workforce capabilities across all departments. The Human Resources team also made significant progress in updating job classifications, supporting succession planning, and enhancing internal systems to improve operations. Looking ahead, the department will continue implementing new tools that support staff and improve the overall workplace experience. These efforts ensure the city remains well-positioned to attract, retain, and develop a strong workforce. The City Clerk's Office ensures transparency, accountability, and public access to government processes. Over the past year, the office managed thousands of public inquiries and processed a large volume of public records requests, reflecting strong community engagement. The department also supports city council operations, manages boards and commissions appointments, and oversees the administration of elections. Efforts to improve systems and processes have enhanced efficiency and expanded public access to information. In addition, the office continues to support legislative initiatives and improve demographic data collection efforts to inform decision-making. Moving forward, the clerk's office will continue to modernize systems and expand service delivery to the community. The Office of the City Attorney provides a full range of services to protect and advance the city's legal interests. The office represents the city in court, addresses quality of life, and protects health and safety through responsible municipal code enforcement prosecution, and manages a wide variety of advisory and transactional legal matters for city departments. This past year, the office helped facilitate a key property acquisition for a new park in South Glendale, guided city departments through critical procurements, and assisted in the completion of vital infrastructure projects in the city. In court, the office obtained the dismissal of a significant personal injury case involving severe injuries that could have resulted in liability in the 7 figures. This year, the office will be working towards technological improvements to facilitate document production for litigation and public records purposes with improved efficiency. The City Attorney's Office continues to safeguard Glendale, support responsible governance, and guide sound decision-making across the organization. The City Treasurer's Office is responsible for managing the city's investments, banking relationships, and cash flow. The department works to protect public funds while maintaining sufficient liquidity to meet operational needs. Over the past year, the office strengthened financial security by implementing updated payment card industry data security standards requirements in coordination with city departments. The department also continues to monitor evolving regulatory and payment card industry requirements, adjusting its practices and internal controls to maintain ongoing compliance. Through careful financial oversight and proactive risk management, the City Treasurer's Office plays a key role in protecting the city's financial stability and integrity of its card payment systems. Looking ahead, the department will continue supporting citywide financial operations and strengthening security measures to ensure that all payment processing activities remain aligned with current and emerging payment card industry standards. The Management Services Department serves as the city's central coordinating office, providing strategic leadership, executive oversight, and organizational alignment across departments. In addition to supporting the City Council, the department oversees critical functions including communications, internal audit, graphic design, and Glendale TV, ensuring consistent, high-quality communication and accountability across city operations. Through its leadership in communications, legislative affairs, and interagency coordination, the department plays a unique role in advancing city priorities and maintaining strong relationships at the local, regional, and state levels. Over the past year, the department implemented key organizational enhancements, including the integration of the Economic Development Division and the Commission on the Status of Women to better reflect evolving community needs. These efforts have strengthened the city's ability to operate with strategic focus. As a steward of effective governance and responsive public service, Management Services will continue to refine its structure, enhance collaboration both internally and externally, and drive innovation across departments, ensuring the city remains adaptable, efficient, and aligned with the needs of the community it serves. Developing and implementing the city's budget is a complex, year-round process that requires disciplined planning, cross-departmental coordination, and a strong commitment to fiscal accountability. This budget reflects Glendale's priorities by sustaining essential services, investing in critical infrastructure, and enhancing quality of life for our residents. As Glendale continues to grow and evolve, this financial plan serves as both a roadmap and a commitment, ensuring that our top priority remains delivering results, while strategically positioning the city for long-term stability and success.
All right, thank you. So we have a number of departments under central support for us to go over, so I'll try to be as efficient as possible. Starting off, we have City Attorney's Office. And the City Attorney's Office have 2 general fund programs and 1 additional fund. The general fund programs are the Departmental Services and Liability and Risk Management. Departmental Services is basically our core legal services. Liability and Risk Management includes our in-house staffing and operations for the defense of the city in litigation matters. And then the non-general fund is a liability insurance fund. That is where our insurance policy is hosted within the city, as well as the fund that gets to paid out to claims. This is an internal service fund. That means that it charges a rate to all city departments for the insurance program and for the claim that gets paid. So between general fund and the liability insurance fund, the total budget for city attorney's office is $23.7 million, and that is a little over 200,000 reduction from the year before, or 1.1%. And general fund accounts for about $5.7 million, while liability insurance fund accounts for $18 million in this fund. This year that you're seeing a little bit of reduction in the liability insurance funds expenditures. As mentioned in one of the financial updates, we calculated the fund balance within the liability insurance fund, and we see that the fund has a relatively healthy fund balance that we can reduce our internal rate to basically help the general financial situation in all the other departments. That is why you're seeing a slight decrease in this particular fund. City Clerk's Office. This is a general fund only department, and that consists of 2 different programs, the administration and elections. The general fund total budget for City Clerk's Office is $1.6 million. That is a $75,000 decrease compared to the year before, and a 4.4% decrease compared to the year before. And City Treasurer, another general fund only department, and only 1 program as well. That consists of 5 FTEs. The total budget for City Treasurer's Office is $1.1 million, a slight increase compared to the year before, which is $39,000, and a 3.7% increase compared to the year before. And the Finance Department, another general fund only department. Finance Department has 8 different programs that includes administration, applications, purchasing, accounts payable, budget, accounting, payroll, and billing and collections. The total budget for the Finance Department in the general fund is $7.7 million in fiscal year 26-27, $82,000 increase, or 1.1% increase for the Finance Department. Human Resources. Human Resources has 2 general fund programs and 8 non-general funds. The 2 general fund program is administration and training, and the 8 non-general fund funds are listed on this particular slide, all of which are related with employee benefits, a different branch of employee benefits that's within this department's budget. The total budget with all of the funds that Human Resources manages is $67 million, and that is a 300,000 increase or 0.5% increase compared to the year before. Information technology. This is another department that is non-general fund and internal service fund only. Information technology has two programs, two funds actually, ITD Infrastructure Fund, 60/30, and ITD Application Fund, 60/40. The total budget for information technology this year is $25 million, and that is a $8.4 million decrease compared to the year before, or 25%. Now, on the surface, it looks like a drastic decrease in our IT funds budget, but there's actually an explainable story. To start off with, that there is no service reductions that IT is providing to the other department. The majority of the $8.4 million decrease is either related with the previously mentioned not budgeting for depreciation for all the assets that's held in the IT fund, as well as transferring some of those contractual services from IT to departments to be better managed in the departments. And between those two, it accounts for the majority of the 8.4. In addition to that, there has been some capital project fluctuations, some reduction in capital project, reducing the replacement of our PC that's within the city's operations to kind of come to this reduction. But what we're hearing from our information technology department is that there is not going to be significant service level impact to any of the departments that they're servicing. Last, but certainly not least, is the management services that has 9 general fund programs and 2 non-general fund. Within the general fund program, there's a variety of different programs that's in here, including the newly moved in economic development, filming, city managers, special events, media graphics, commissions on the status of women, internal audit, sister cities, and communications. The 2 non-general fund includes the cable access fund and the capital improvement fund that management services is involved with. The total budget for management services this year is $10 million. Compared to last year, it's a $3.6 million increase. As you may recall, that the economic development moved into management services fund, which accounts for the majority of that 3.3 increase in the general fund portion of this fund. Besides the general fund portion, there's percentage-wise is a significant increase in the cable access fund, which is $135,000 or 900%. And that is primarily capital project related of modernizing and refreshing the equipment that is used by the cable access fund to support the modern day services, as well as getting into compliance with the American Disability Act requirements that requires additional project funding for that particular fund. And the capital improvement fund, the $192,000, is entirely involved with the Alex Cedar technology upgrade and concession improvements. That's a new project. And that concludes my presentation for this functional area, central support. What are your questions?
All right, who would like to start? Councilmember Alsatria.
The little note that's placed on the Commission on the Status of Women, it says basically 20%. So that position originally was housed in the city manager's office with a full-time position that had legislative affairs, and then the other part-time of that employee was Women's Commission. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but then when it moved to the city clerk's office, it was still held as at 50% for Women's Commission and then 50% for other city clerk. So I'm going to bring this up again because I know that this council had taken a vote to look at turning that into a full-time position, but now are you recommending that you're going down to 20%? I know the staff member that is overseeing that was initially supposed to be the assistant to the city manager, and then the legislative affairs got added on, and then the Women's Commission got added on. I've seen a lot of work with communications, and I think most recently overseeing economic development. Can you please speak to the Women's Commission portion of how you're basically recommending cuts, further cuts?
I can answer that, Councilmember Asaturian. The .20 FTE doesn't reflect the level of effort or dedication that a staff member has to the commission. That position is, I should say, the commission has one full-time staff member. That staff member's cost is borne 20% by the CSW budget, 80% by the general fund budget in the city manager's office. So this isn't a reflection of commitment to the Commission on the Status of Women, it's how we're actually appropriating the cost.
Right, but again, that staff member originally had two things that they were overseeing. The current person that you have in that is overseeing 5 different things, so how is that the same allocation?
Councilmember Sargent, I don't quite understand the question, but the allocation is the funding, right? So if 80% of that person's time is charged to the commission and 20% is the commission's budget, 20%, this is general fund, right? Okay. We haven't, Ms. Megardician, it's true that she has taken on additional responsibilities, but we have not seen any impact to the function of the Commission on the Status of Women or other functions or responsibility that she carries. Obviously, there are other staff in my office that help out as necessary. Again, we haven't seen a negative impact, and we haven't been asked for additional allotment of Ms. Megardician's time to the commission.
So, as an example would be, there was supposed to be a strategic plan that was promised to be put together last year that I still haven't seen. I mean, I can list many things that we can do proactively, but again, this isn't to speak to the staff members. I think she does an impeccable job with, everything that she has been working on, but each person has 24 hours in a day, or rather an 8-hour work day. And based on the various emails that I get with what she's been assigned to, again, my concern is that when you have 10 things that you're covering, there's no way that you are able to dedicate, if you were somebody that was supposed to be handling that particular project with the Women's Commission 50% of the time. I mean, it's...
I understand the logic, but I'll submit to you that Ms. Megardician, as you mentioned, has done a tremendous job of managing that commission. I haven't gotten any negative feedback. Nothing has fallen through the cracks. She's working very closely with the commission, and all the things that commission is working on, they're being processed.
Okay, maybe we can have an offline conversation on
Sure.
that.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I do have another question as it pertains to the communications position. Can you speak to the 2.0 on the communications?
Yeah, we have two positions, two filled positions that currently are handling the communications efforts through my office in collaboration with the other communications staff in other departments currently.
So does this include the potential communications director we were looking to get, or this is just what we have right now?
This is what we have currently on the books. We are in the process of finalizing the job spec for that position and recruiting for that position.
Okay, and then the legislative affairs contract that was supposed to come back for an RFP, but we're looking to do additional grants. Is that going to be, is that already accounted for in this current budget or proposed budget?
Yes, it has.
For the budget, yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the budget.
If I could just clarify one thing, I think the way to look at this document isn't that there's only 2 people doing communications. I mean, it says 2 FTEs in that program, but there's a number of people in 1010-6504 in the city manager's office that augment or contribute to that.
Right.
By the same token, you see Sister Cities has 0 FTEs, but yet we have people who work on Sister City programs as well as an hourly employee who dedicated 100% of her time to that. So just because it says 0 or 0.2 doesn't mean that we're not allocating resources to it. It's just how we've broken it out within our own programs within the department.
Okay. How many hourly do we have?
In the city manager's office, we have 2 hourlies. One that's dedicated to this, to the Sister City program, and 1 person that's assisting with communications.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Garpetian.
Thank you. I think my question is the same as the other departments, like the city attorney, city clerk, city treasurer, city manager's office. There's a lump sum number, if you will, that says like city treasurer's office is $1.1 million. I wanted to know what is the breakdown of that cost. Is it just salaries, or there are other costs like insurance or what have you? I mean, you don't have to give this because I want it for every department. This was just I'm not picking on city treasurer's office. Okay. For the next budget session, if I have those, that will be very helpful. And also, you mentioned that you're looking at the communications position. What is that position?
We had previously held the position of Communication and Public Relations Director.
And what is the salary of such position in general?
I don't know off the top of my head that we can pull that up. Do you know, Ms. Cervantes?
For the communications position, fully loaded is 384,000.
384?
That's fully loaded
with benefits.
I understand.
I have to emphasize that because, some members of the public may not know.
For the benefit of the public.
The benefit load is approximately 40-45%. No, more?
More than
Even
that
more.
sometimes, even up to 60%, yeah.
That's the fully loaded, all
benefits,
all in basically, all the benefits and the salaries. Because I'm not against having one, but if you look at the cuts that we have, 20,000 here, 5,000 there, 50,000 there, then you add one position that covers all the costs that we're cutting at the end, then you just have to step back and think, do we want to fill in this position or we want to not have the other cuts? I mean, this is just a position. I'm not picking on this position. In general, when you add positions, then that $380,000, $84,000 fully loaded, I feel I'm buying a car. It's all fully loaded. But if then you look at all the cuts, small cuts that every departments have to make, that makes up this one position, then I will have a second look as to do we want to have those cuts from libraries and everything else, or parks, or do you want to fill this position? I think this is a decision that the council and the management has to make in general, but we need to take everything into consideration.
Completely understand, again, where you're coming from, and that's Councilmember Garpetian, council members, that's the struggle that we've been going through for the last 6-7 months. Considering the budgetary situation we're in. But communications across the board has been this council's one of the top priorities. And it's important to council, and that's why I have decided to fill that position now. If council direction is different than my understanding, then we need to hear that.
Okay. Any other questions before we move on? Okay.
Can I make one
Sure.
recommendation? I think as part of the last couple of days as well, I think this is for the city clerk's office. I know we haven't had a discussion on this, but the mayor of Sunnyvale was telling us that they actually also have a very large immigrant community, and they are using a platform that automatically live translates their council meetings. And I would hope that we can take a look at what system they're using, or if there's other systems that are available, and if we need to bring that as a separate item or as part of a budget conversation.
We're actually in the process of looking into ways that we can, because of SB 707, we have to make adjustments, including providing translation services. And so we are looking at that. Okay. We are looking at systems that could potentially provide real-time translation.
Okay, Mr. Bradford may have, do you have anything to add?
Just very briefly, City Clerk is spot on. We've been working together for SB 707. We do have a budget allocation in our IT budget for this live translation of the council meetings, and we are looking at a couple of tools to do that.
Very cool. Okay,
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead, Councilman Brahman.
Just two comments, really. One is, for what it's worth, I totally support us filling that comms director position. I think it's absolutely critical. I think the fact that we've failed, I think, in many areas on communicating what we're doing and why we're doing it, and that's created a lot of consternation and a lot of frustration in the community. So I think that's incredibly important. And then the other thing on the IT side, I just want to make sure we're putting enough resources into cybersecurity. It's one of those things that nobody pays attention to until
We do.
until, no, I don't mean you. Yeah. Until there's a crisis, and we want to avoid the crisis. So far we have, and I hope that continues.
Absolutely. Not only we are investing in cybersecurity, in my discussion with our chief information officer, that is the number one area that we're not compromising in our resources.
Good. Thank you. That's it.
All right, continuing.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
Actually, it's just a conclusion. Is our total budget is $1.76 billion. That is, again, all the details are in this proposed budget document. And I want to re-emphasize the point that only 30% of this total budget is general fund, and all the rest are non-general fund, and many of which are non-discretionary. So to go back to a previous point when we had questions about what if we don't adopt a budget, quite frankly, a lot of these funds are supported by outside fundings with specific timelines, like grants, and with specific restrictions. So not adopting a budget, meaning serious impacts to all of the services that you have heard today throughout this budget presentation. And I would make a statement that would be a relatively irresponsible thing to subject the community to. So I wouldn't recommend considering that. So with that conclusion.
Thank you. We have the dates for the future upcoming. Let's go over that. And I actually have a few comments, but I'll wait until we have set the tone or the dates for the upcoming sessions.
Yes. So for upcoming, next week, May 28th, we have our budget study session number 3. That's where we'll focus on the capital improvement program, as well as our citywide fee schedule and vacancy reporting. And then budget studies session number 4 is our budget follow-up items. This is where we want to encourage all of you to see, hey, if there are things that your council wants to deliberate more and really have a group discussion and come to a council consensus or majority in terms of what to add, what to reduce, anything that you would like to revise from the proposed budget to the adopted budget, we would like to hear from you ahead of time so we can program that as part of the agenda for the follow-up item. And our intention is to answer all of your questions, make sure that you have a full deliberation among yourselves to make an informed budgetary adoption decision by June 23rd. So definitely let us know what would work the best for you to get to that deliberation and council decision. Okay. With that, June 23rd is still our planned date for
June 23rd. That will be in the evening, just so everyone's aware. I know that there are folks who mentioned about changing the time, and so people can come. That these meetings that today we've already spent at least 2.5 hours on this, and quite honestly, we could have probably spent another hour. I know that my colleagues each probably would have wanted to do even deeper dives, and some of you have held back on your questions. I appreciate that, but I want to encourage you to ask those questions of staff when you have opportunities. Take the time individually to meet with staff, dig deeper, have those conversations. At the end of the day, we're going to have to adopt this budget as a body. Hopefully, all of us will agree. I would hate to see a situation where individuals, because their specific thing was not addressed, decides to abstain from it all after having all these robust discussions. Ultimately, we have that obligation to our residents. I want to just myself say that, you know, it has been suggested and by someone who had come and spoken, and I've thought about this as well, given kind of perhaps it's the fact that we're in an election cycle and there's a lot of people who claim to have a lot of answers and solutions. But, you know, we ourselves, I think, would benefit from having a consultant perhaps look at what our financial state is. I believe that having a new finance director who brings in a fresh pair of eyes has certainly helped, and I want to congratulate you for specifically on that the trust fund that you suggested to be able to put away money to be able to pay off those things that we're obligated to as it relates to the closure of the landfill, and obviously previous councils had done it for the pension obligations. But I think we could benefit, and I want to urge the city manager and his staff to consider bringing in, and my colleagues supporting the suggestion of bringing in someone like it could be a Deloitte, management partners. Again, I don't know what the cost of it would be, and I'd like to know what the cost is, but having that third party, that outside perspective that other cities do use to some success, to great success actually in other agencies, to say you're doing this right, this you could be doing better. And that way, when we go to the public and we say we need to do this or we need to do that, it's not just us saying it, and it's not just a big bad council that's saying that. That's people allege we're being swayed by this interest or that interest group. We will have another professional, reputable body or agency or company that says, no, this is where Glendale needs to be, because we are in a very difficult position. And lastly, I know I had mentioned this before, but I think that staff has done the hard work. You're presenting the best budget you can. It's certainly not perfect, but we can't let perfect be the enemy of good enough to be able to move us forward. Having said that, I'm going to, again, reiterate my point that we need to seriously look at a process by which we are not looking to provide pay increases until we are in financially stable situation. And that means not having to dip into our reserves to be able to pay for promises that either previous councils or this council or future councils will make to employees. So I don't know how we codify that, how we put something in place that restricts our appetite to constantly say yes to employees that we believe deserve it, because as much as we love our staff and we'd like to pay you and pay everyone a fair amount, if we don't have the money to pay for it, then there isn't really much in making those promises. So those are two items I'd like us to seriously consider moving forward in the next budget study sessions. Councilmember Asatrian.
I see that the citywide fee schedule update is scheduled for the next session. During the last budget session, there were conversations about bringing back different buckets as it related to permitting, as it related to parks and events and so forth. I think there were 3 or 4 categories that were identified. I think the conversation around that time was about looking at what we subsidize because we want to support, say, economic development, or we want to support certain kinds of events in the city and so forth. I don't know if any work has been done since that last budget session, but I would really like to have enough information during this budget session where we dive into the actual fee schedules, because I think last year it was I think we still had 1,500 fees that were just brought forward and, for us to approve. And I don't want to be in a place where I'm not agreeing or we're not having conversations, because.
Yeah, Councilmember Asatrian, your point is well taken, and 1,500 fees, it is a lot to review at the individual level in an amount of 2 or 3 hours, right? So our goal is to provide you the material before the end of the week, hopefully earlier than later, so you can take a look at. And we have identified which fees are cost recovery in nature and which fees that we're subsidizing and which fees that we're actually marking to a market rate. So there's that information within that. And what I would encourage you or any other council members, if you're interested, let's schedule a briefing just so we can go over some of those fee study details with you in more details before the budget study session, so I can provide more context for how those fees come to form.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I think last year it also helped that John had created a folder with all of the materials in one place that we could always go back to. So it included the presentations, included any reports we had asked for that we can access. If your staff can
do the
please
same.
create that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Najarian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sort of along your lines, I think we're well into the second half of this process. We've got another substantive meeting to go. I do want to emphasize, I think it's critical that when this budget is presented, that it be adopted unanimously. I am not keen to a council member, and I'm not referring to anyone in particular, peeling off at the last minute and voting against the budget, because this whole process is collaborative. We're each taking a hit on some of our priorities. For me, example, it's the swimming and aquatics program. I don't want to work with a council member that's going to be putting in that person's priorities, and then at the last minute, vote no for the budget. Of course, it's every council member's right to vote no, and they have that. But I want to know that before we lock in our budget, because if someone is indicating that they're very unhappy with the budget for whatever issue, department, sub-fund, and they're not going to be voting, I want to know that before, because I don't want to be advancing and accommodating priorities of that particular council member when it comes down the line for us all to vote, if that person is not going to vote for the budget. That's sort of a one-upmanship. I think we all owe it to ourselves to be honest with each other and to understand that if you're going to be voting against the budget, let's say I tell you right now, you know what? I hate this budget for whatever reason. I wouldn't expect my colleagues to hold some of my priorities to be important to them and to fully fund it when it comes time for the budget. So I'm just telling you, that's the way I'm thinking. I hope we all are honest with each other and not play the one-upmanship that may occur in the future.
Well, thank you. And I want to reiterate that this is a work in progress, right? We adopt something, maybe we agree with everything in it, maybe we agree with some of it, we agree with most, maybe less than most, but we have opportunities to revisit, make changes, add in things, take things out. Obviously with eye for fiscal responsibility and the fiduciary duty we have to the residents and stakeholders of Glendale. Now on my two items that I brought up, do I need to have that agendized for new business, or how are we going to, so we get council consensus on whether we want to move forward on those items?
Mr. Mayor, on hiring consultant, we can probably get this council an estimated fee. The process is going to take a while.
That's fine, but
It's
we need
not
to
going to
start
be
it.
ready for this budget review process.
Certainly, okay. I mean, but I would hate to have something come back if I'm the only person who's supportive of that. So perhaps on both items of that, we need to have it at least be part of a new business discussion, and then because again, no one person on this dais can drive the bus. We all have our hands on the wheel.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we can certainly add it to a future.
So between that and how we proceed with pay increases in an organization that's struggling to find ways to keep the lights on, I'd like to have both of those come back, and then we can have a discussion among my colleagues in another afternoon session. With that, we are going to close this section of the agenda. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate everything that all of you do. I know the residents, the businesses, stakeholders, everyone who comes and is proud of the city of Glendale appreciates everything that you do. So thank you to the staff for being here. I'd like to ask our city clerk to next read the closed session item into the record.
The closed session item is conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to paragraph 4 of subdivision D of Government Code, section 54956.9, one potential case.
Do we anticipate reporting out on this, Mr. City Attorney?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, then let us, then I'll ask, well, we'll recess, and then do we have to come back to adjourn, or will
No,
it be, we can adjourn in
yeah,
closed session?
correct.
So we will recess to closed session, and then we will adjourn in closed session at the completion of this item. Thank you, everyone.